Okay, so this is just going to be a brief supplemental video. I don't even think I'm going to do this stuff in class with you. I'm just going to put it up on YouTube and on our Canvas page uh, just so that you can have this as kind of a guide. Um, so what this is going to be about is how to take notes. So this is a very difficult skill to master. I'm not sure it's something that I can teach you in a short video like this. What I can do is offer you some pointers about how to do this. Um, so I'm going to give you some pointers about how to take notes in class, and then I'm going to share with you how to do our weekly notes assignment. So there is a written form of these instructions online, but I'm going to go over those instructions with you in this video because they're both about what are quote unquote notes. All right, so first, how to take notes in class. Now, keep in mind, as I said, these are simply pointers. It's just advice. There's not really any tried and true system of taking notes that you should use. I don't want you to use a system of taking notes. I want you to use what works for you. So, in class, I am going to be talking a lot, and I'm going to be writing stuff down a lot. So everything I say or write, everything that good old Mr. Nissen says and writes is valuable information. So everything that I say or write is valuable in one way or another. But obviously, you can't write down everything I say and write. So, what you're going to need to develop is a filter. You're going to need to develop a kind of filter. And what this filter is going to do is keep the stuff you want and leave behind the stuff you don't want, or the stuff you think isn't as valuable. There's going to be stuff I say that may be valuable to someone but not valuable to you. That's fine. This is a very personal decision in how you take your notes and what kind of stuff you decide to write down. So here's what I will do to help you. The really important stuff will be repeated. I'll repeat it. I'll repeat it. I'll write it down. So you're not going to miss like the super important stuff. But what you need to try to figure out for yourself is what other stuff that I'm saying or writing do you want to make sure that you're also writing down for yourself. So, like I've said, you need to make the notes personal to you. So in addition to the important stuff, I'm also going to make references. I'm going to make analogies. I'm going to make connections to previous material. And I may not always write that down. I may not always repeat it. But if something really catches your attention, you should write that down too. So write down the stuff that resonates with you. Write down the stuff that's going to make a difference in your head. You're not going to need every reference. You're not going to need every analogy or connection I make. But if one strikes you as important or memorable, that's the stuff you should write down. Now, additionally, my notes in class should not be copied word for word in your own notes. So your job is not to be a copy machine.
Good afternoon, teachers and staff. I want to thank you for your participation with our open house today. I also want to let everybody know that we have several chicken sandwich boxes left over from lunch today. If anybody would like to come pick up 1 or 2 boxes until they are gone, you are more than welcome to come up and help yourself. Take them home to your families. That will help us a lot. Thanks, Bulls.
So yeah, that just happened. It's been happening all day. So your job is not to be a copy machine. Your job is to write notes for yourself. Your job is to write notes that are meaningful to you. Now, how are you going to do that? That's really up to you. I don't want you to use a system. Like a lot of people use things like Cornell notes, and forcing you to write notes in a system is great for some people, but it's also stifling to other people. So I'm not going to make you do that. It doesn't make sense for everybody. If you like using Cornell notes and you've used them in the past, awesome. If that works for you, I'm not going to stop you. But I also want you to make sure that whatever notes you write are meaningful to you and will help you later on. So I will give you one piece of advice about your notes. And that is, when you're trying to remember a story, it helps to do 2 things. When you're trying to remember a story, it helps to do 2 things. The first one is going to sound very obvious, and that is reread the story. And so for us, that means you may actually need to read your notes after class every day. You may need to read your notes again after you've left my room. Why might you need to do that? Well, one, to just refresh your memory, but also you may have jotted something down. You may have jotted something down, and now you need to remember what it was. You may have just written down something very quickly that I referenced, and now you've got to try to remember what that was. The sooner you do that, the more likely it is you're going to remember. And you can ask me, Hey, Mr. Nissen, you made a reference to Thanos yesterday. What were you talking about? And then I might be able to explain it. But definitely you need to look at your notes again after class. Here's another thing that will help you remember the story. The other thing that will help you remember the story is tell it to someone else. If you can tell the story to someone else, that will also help you remember it. So here's your first choice to tell it to someone else. Do you have a friend maybe in a different period? Maybe with a different teacher? Maybe at a different school? You have a friend taking this class in a different period, maybe with a different teacher, maybe at a different school. Get your story straight. Make sure that your story makes sense to their story. What if you don't have a friend or a friend in a different period? What do? So, talk to a sibling. Maybe you've got an older sibling that took this class. Maybe you've got an older sibling that took this class with me. Ask them if it makes sense to them. You have a younger sibling? Younger siblings usually love to do what their older siblings are doing. They would love the chance for you to sit down and tell them what high school is like. They won't even mind that you're talking about history. Talk to your parents. Talk to your grandparents. Eventually, we'll get to things that your grandparents may have actually lived through. Don't want to talk to any of them? I bet your dog would listen to you. What I'm telling you to do is tell the story that I told you in that class to someone else. Take your notes, look at it like a script or a story, and reread it to someone. That will help you remember the story. It'll help you make your own references. But really, this stuff is really important. You cannot simply take notes in my class and not look at them again until the next time you see me. You have to be engaged in your notes even outside of my class. Okay, so the other way we're going to take notes is through chapter notes. So I'm going to have you take notes on each chapter of the book. So chapter notes are different than notes in class. So these are assignments that you're going to turn in. Usually 1 to 2 weeks. So usually about every 1 or 2 weeks, you're going to turn in some chapter notes, depending on the length of the chapter. I want you to think about the chapter notes in a different way than you think about the notes you take in class. This I want you to think about as if you're creating your own study guide. Kids love to ask teachers for study guides. Well, I'm giving you your study guide in the form of these chapter notes. So this is how these assignments are going to work. So we've talked about the course themes, and they helpfully have been arranged in a nice acronym called SEPTIC. These relate to each one of the course themes. We're going to go through the course themes as we go through the material. But each one of these course themes, I want you to write a claim about each theme as described in the chapter. So you're going to write a total of 6 claims per chapter. 6 claims per chapter. Now, some of these may be small components of the chapter. At some point during the year, you may even need to make an inference about some of these claims. But each one of these claims, or each one of these themes, will be represented in every chapter, and you can write a claim about each one. Then, after you've written your 6 claims, you then need to provide 3 pieces of evidence to support the claim from the chapter with a page citation. So this will be a total of 18 sentences. So in total, this assignment should be, if my math checks out, 24 sentences at minimum. So you are going to get lots of practice writing claims. You're going to write 6 a week. You're going to get really good at coming up with pieces of evidence. You're going to have 18 pieces of evidence per chapter that you're going to pull out. At the end of the year, you're going to have a personalized study guide that you wrote in your own words. So make sure that you're typing these and keeping them safe. If you're not typing them, then make sure you're putting them someplace safe, because at the end of the year, this is a much better study guide than anything I could provide for you because you wrote it in your own words. Okay? So, like I said, these assignments, this assignment is in written form. All I wanted to do was to go over it with you in a short video and give you some pointers about how to take notes in class. So this is Mr. Nissen signing off.